All right, everybody, welcome to the Producers Hangout, episode 12. I am Flux of fluxwithit.com and the Producers Hangout Facebook group. I'm a producer, sound designer primarily, and general synth nerd and gear slut, all that good stuff. Gear escort, I like to call it. So we've got a large group with us today, and we've got a range of interesting topics. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce William McKnight of themachinewarehouse.com. Willie is a sound designer and makes excellent machine expansion packs and more products to come soon. So I'll let Willie say hello.
How y'all doing? Just good to be on the show today.
And next up, we've got Mike of padbangers.com, Silent Cypher. He's out of Germany, and I'll let him say hello as well.
What's up, guys? Let's have a good show. I'm looking forward to it.
And next, we have Kev West of KevWestBeats.com, and he does some excellent reviews and kind of some music technology posts as well. So I'll let him introduce himself.
Well, I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy that my classes are over for the summer.
Excellent, excellent. Next, we have Bryce, who is also known as Upright, who is a producer extraordinaire. You can find him on SoundCloud at Upright, soundcloud.com/Upright, and I'll let him introduce himself.
What's up, everybody? Ready to have a good show. I've been MIA for a couple shows here, but now I'm back and ready to have some good talk here. So.
And then next we have Aaron, Mr. 25 Keys. Aaron is a producer and recently came out with a new electro album. Is that correct?
Yeah, what's up, guys? It's me, Aaron, aka 25 Keys. I'm always in a group sharing the tidbits of knowledge that I've gained over 20+ years. Yeah. You can catch my stuff on the link right down there. You can check it out. Most of my songs. I'm just happy to be part of the group again, guys. Let's just have a great show today.
So, jumping right into things, I think topic that's going to be first and foremost for everybody is the fact that Reason 8 is now in beta. Reason 8 seems to... Reason is an interesting character because it seems like there's a love-hate relationship with the producer community. Mostly, it would appear to be due to the fact that it's kind of segmented itself, both with Rewire and with lack of VST support, but gaining things like rack extensions and a lot of new workflows. It seems like the new update really seems to be primarily designed to increase workflow and make the browser more accessible to people, and really, in my opinion, seems to make it look a little bit more like a traditional DAW and operate more like a traditional DAW. So I wanted to get cursory opinions from the other users in the group. I'm not going to go too deep on this one just because some of us are under NDA and we don't want to get in any trouble. So I'm going to pass off to Mike first on this one and get his kind of opinion just at a glance.
To be honest, I kind of lost my interest in Reason. I still have version 5 around here, and I still have it installed. And I use it from time to time to pick some sounds from it. And actually, I resample it into my other DAWs. I don't even use Rewire with it. But for me, it's not the fact that it's not supporting VST. I think that's perfectly fine because you now have the rack extensions, and that is what it makes rock solid. I've never saw another DAW that is never crashing. Its Reason is just fantastic for that. It's just like the fact, I think nowadays it kind of is a little too cluttered for me. It's not very structured well. With the big mixer, you have to scroll around in the mixer a lot. Even for one channel strip, you have to scroll up and down, and that's just not matching my workflow. But besides that, I still think it's a great DAW if you can live with that workflow and all that, how it looks. And I think the version 8 is a good step forward. How it looks, it's modern now, and the browser looks really good to me. But yeah, as I said, it's not a reason for me to update my old version and get back to Reason.
Well, let me go ahead and ask Willie about this a little bit. William has been using Reason for a while, I believe, right? Well, more recently you're working with it, and I don't want to go too deep as far as why, but I will say that the current changes in Reason in the past maybe 2 years have been really starting to grab some people who maybe feel like how Mike feels about Reason, and starting to bring more people in, which is really kind of interesting, because it's like, some people are getting bored of it and feeling like it's cluttered, and some people are dying for the things that are making it cluttered. So what's your perspective as, would you say that you're a fairly new user of Reason?
Yeah, I kind of left Reason around version 4. I got interested again around version 5, and I really didn't pick it up and start using it. But now it's like, since I've gotten into more sound design, I'm looking at building more instruments for it, and so I'm kind of reacquainting myself with using Reason again. So hopefully here in the near future, you might have a few sample instruments coming to Reason from the Machine Warehouse. So that's all I can say,
good thing to hear. I will say that I used Reason, I want to say it was around like Reason 3, 3.5, something like that. But I stopped using it mainly because, again, it was so separated from the other workflows that I was using. Rewire only got me so far, and I found myself just I liked the idea of the physical rack format, and I liked the idea of plugging in, unplugging cables, because I'm used to that with hardware.
Right.
But what I don't like is the fact that I'm tied to what works in physical doesn't always work on a flat screen. And that kind of upset me. And then there was things like, I like to get into like some really odd VSTs and weird sounds that are not a typical user-based sound, like just like doing things like buffer editing and like odd things like that are not going to necessarily be something that everybody is going to need, like a compressor or an EQ. So there was less likelihood that Propeller Heads was going to put something like that into the program. Then rack extensions came along, and I got really hyper about it. I was just like, okay, that's awesome. I like the idea of rack extensions being their own thing. I like the idea that rack extensions, if they crash, they can't take out an entire project. I love that idea. And I love the fact that they have this kind of... I have a love-hate relationship with the idea that it has this format that is specifically shaped in a certain way so that you can, everything should be fairly intuitive if you have a rack extension. What I think makes people upset is when people think about rack extensions, they don't think about VSTs. They feel like they're two totally separate things. And in a way they're right, but in a way they're wrong. Because while a rack extension can be like somebody takes a VST from another thing and then ports it over to a rack extension, I don't tend to hear the same kinds of people moaning and groaning about Pro Tools or Logic, which Logic doesn't allow VSTs, Pro Tools doesn't allow VSTs. You have, AAX format and RTAS, and then you have AU format. And AU format hasn't been updated in ages, and in my opinion is terrible. And then you have, AAX, which is a brand new format that's very nice, but it's, people have to support it. People have to develop for it. Well, it's the exact same thing with rack extensions. And the only difference really comes in is if Reason really wants to support rack extensions and really wants to go the direction that it looks like they're going, then they're going to have all the features that any regular DAW would have. All the features that something like Studio One, Logic, or Pro Tools is going to have, because it looks like they're already moving in that direction. This new organization, the new always open browser, as they call it, and the way that you don't have to look at the rack at all anymore, tells me, and plus they've been including, what is it, Record since like version 6 or something like that.
Yep.
It tells me that that's what's on their mind, is they want to be a DAW. They want, they already have the instruments for it. Now they just need to have the recording and editing facilities of it. So I wonder how somebody like Bryce feels about it, because I know Bryce uses Reason quite a bit, along with the control voltage aspects of it.
Right. Right.
Really cool.
And that's one of the biggest things for me, because in Reason, I mean, Kev knows about this. I mean, there's literally probably 50 or 60 standalone CV devices, somewhere in that range, And that's the good part about Reason for me, is being able to patch in to the Mo2 and run CV straight to the modular, That's a big thing for me. But when it comes to like the other side of production that I like a lot, like sample-based production, Reason doesn't really shine too much for that, because what is it? Recycle is a separate, completely separate program. So they tried to integrate it in 7, but it to me it still doesn't work like it should. I mean, when you get in Machine, the freedom is just ridiculous, But in Reason, it still feels it's not intuitive at all.
Well,
so
let me ask, this most recent update, is it? I mean, is it indicative of where you feel like they should be going, or do you feel like they're missing out on, maybe focusing in a different area?
Well, from the announcement that they made and what they showed of Reason 8, to me, it looks really, it looks like the browser's the main thing, So, I mean, yeah, I mean. But who knows? Who knows what'll happen when it finally drops? Who knows? But I mean, yeah. So.
Kev, let me ask you. I know that you use Reason a lot, but I also know that you are a very in-the-box guy, whereas Bryce is really talking about, he enjoys the CV aspects, which are breaking the software world out into the hardware world, and he's also talking about intuitiveness of Machine. Where do you feel like Reason should be going versus where it seems to actually be going, and do you feel like they tie together?
I have a love-hate relationship with Reason at this point. Reason was the first DAW that I really fell in love with at version 2. But now I sometimes feel like there's a disconnect. Especially now that I'm using Ableton, I'm using Machine. Yes, I can rewire, but rewire still makes Reason feel like it's its own thing off to the side, and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
With version 8, I like that they added the browser, but I felt they could have done the browser in the 7.5 as a free update. I don't think it justifies a whole new version.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, and that's the only thing that I've really seen that they've really talked about. A bunch of workflow increases, similar to what they did with, I think it was version 6, where they brought Record and Reason together, and other than that, it was really 3 rack extensions, and then they added some workflow enhancements. 7, a lot of workflow enhancements, and that's what I'm seeing. To me, the last really amazing Reason update for me was Reason 5, because I have Record already. So
for me, like, sorry, Kev, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, like I updated to 7.1. So Reason went from 6.5 to 7, and then to 7.1. So I skipped the 7 update, which was $129, and I bought the 7.1 update. So I actually got a lot of stuff just waiting, skipping that one update. I got the Audiomatic. I got Audiomatic, and I got the Synchronous.
Yeah, synchronous
No.
is fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. So I got that and all the stuff that Reason 7 brought. So to me, it made sense to kind of skip that update, and that's what I think I'm on path to be doing, is kind of just skipping one update and then getting that next one, because it's going to be the same price, you know. So
Exactly. That is actually one of the really cool things I think about Reason is you can be on version 2 and say, hey, I want version 8, and it's the same price. How many
$129.
other DAWs do that?
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
Yeah, I'll say from my perspective, when I look at what they're doing, a while back they came out with they have a Reason interface, an audio interface, and
Balance.
I really expected that to be the ushering in of a series of products for Reason that were similar to what Native Instruments was doing. You know, they have their audio interfaces, and then they had their controllers and core and all that good stuff, and then, you know, machine and everything. I looked at Reason as, well, the people who design Reason obviously like hardware. They obviously like having their hands on the knobs because that's how it's designed in the software. So I really expected to see more dedicated controllers. And I don't mean third-party Nectar-type controllers. I mean more like actual propeller head stuff that is designed from the ground up to work expressly with propeller heads.
I think that was their plan. Yeah, for a minute. And then they launched rack extensions, and you know, all of a sudden the focus changed, and they don't even make balance anymore. That interface, they completely stopped producing that.
Which I think is a shame. I mean, not so much for the interface, but more for the actual hands-on, you know, control of it, because everything is laid out in this kind of rack way. Everything is specifically. They're very strict about the formatting of these rack extensions and everything. So to me, with that in mind, there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't do a dedicated controller that would work extremely well with Reason. Like if you had, you know, I'm not even going to get into giving them ideas for free. Put it that way. I'm just gonna say, it's so simple to make it perfect. It's so simple how they could make a perfect controller. The fact that they haven't done it yet, it just blows my mind. So
it's never with propeller heads. It's never a reason of will they do it. It's a lot of time when will they do it. And I think Balance was actually kind of a beta test of that. I had a Balance. I like how it sounded. I like the hands-on.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, I bought it about 6 months after it came out.
Yeah,
and I actually got rid of it like 2-3 months ago. I have a Focusrite interface now that I bought like 6-7 months ago. Just because Balance gave me a lot of problems. It's fantastic with Reason, but say like I wanted to use it with Ableton, I wanted to use it with Sonar, or I wanted to use it with Machine, I'd have pop-click problems.
Yeah.
It's not a very Windows-friendly interface, which I know Propeller Heads, they're very pro-Mac. You can tell the way they do everything. They're very pro-Mac, which is fine, but you're cutting out a large part of the music-making community by making sure that, you know, it's not on point with Windows as well.
It's crazy
for Windows.
Which is crazy to me because, in my opinion, you would think that doing a quality audio interface would be a more difficult task than just building a beautiful controller that works well, because you're dealing with a lot of very specific, easily detectable problems. You know, like as far as like if you've got a sample rate issue or something, there's no sugarcoating it. You know, if you've got a controller that maybe skips a little bit, you know, maybe people aren't going to be so critical. But if you've got, you know, major issues in your sound, I mean, well, that's, you know, that's imperative.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no! The interface actually sounded great. It lacked features. I bought it when it launched at $500.
When you say that it wasn't very Windows friendly, what exactly are you referring to?
It would just randomly cut off.
Yeah, that's
like,
exactly
you could be
what
recording.
You have a problem like that. That's kind of hard to sugarcoat. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that was one of the major problems I had with Balance. Also, like it had like 6 or 8 ends. I don't remember how many, but you could only use 2 of them at once. You had to switch between them. It's a $500 interface. If I want to use all of my inputs at once, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to.
Good
On
point.
a $500 interface.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
Well, moving on. I wanna
Hold on. Just 1 second. We got a comment here on Google Plus from Steve Oldfield who's saying, keep in mind you can use external VSTs in Reason now, and you don't have to do it with Rewire.
Oh, you can. See, I wasn't
That's
aware.
a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. You have to go and download a like MIDI looper and then get Soundflower, and you can control it, and then you have to
So this is
actually
not
record
native.
it into Reason. It's not intuitive.
So
But I hear that argument a lot. It's not intuitive at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not native, but it does
But I
work.
mean, to that guy's to his credit, you can do that, but it's a big deal. It's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's not like something you want to just. It's not quick to set up. You know.
And I know Steve's a good guy. He's a buddy of mine, but I'm disagreeing. I'm like, yes, you can do it, but like I said, it's a pain in the ass.
Okay, Kev, if I got you right, it has to be a standalone VST. It's not like it's dealing with every plugin. You have to be like a standalone application and reroute the audio into Reason.
Correct.
Okay.
So what you would do, because Reason 7 added a MIDI out feature to use with hardware sense. So say you want Contact, you would literally use the standalone version of Contact. Then you would get MIDI. Then you get something like a MIDI looper, and then you would get something like Soundflower to control it all, record, and then record the audio to send it back into Reason. It's possible, yes, but it's not as intuitive as say when I go into Ableton, go down a list, pick Contacts, and just start playing.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how much effort do you want to put forth.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that to me sounds like that if you're having to go through all that kind of work, realistically, aren't you just going to open up a different program? Aren't you just going to?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And what this says to me is Reason users want VST support, clearly, because why else would they go through this? But
and you'll hear a lot of guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kev.
But it's to me it feels like it's just like a stubbornness issue from Propellerhead to a point to say no, we're just not going to do it. But the demand is there. Like
Totally.
I would use Reason totally as my DAW of choice if I could use all of my outside goodies with Reason. But at this point, I have so many outside goodies that now I don't really need Reason. But I use it because I like it.
Okay, so I want to dive into a topic real quick. We'll keep this one fairly short, but I found this incredibly interesting because, full disclosure, I'm a geeked out fan when I see this guy do stuff. But Aphex Twin recently started advertising something. We don't necessarily know what. But let me do a quick screen share so I'll give an idea as to what we're talking about here. So here we go, and you can see this is a blimp that was spotted flying over London. Okay, now there's no real information. I've seen pictures of a blimp where the other picture on it is 2014 with the Aphex Twin symbol in the center of it. But what it got me really thinking about is unique ways of advertising, unique ways of separating yourself from the masses. In this day and age where everybody and their mom and their mom's mom and their mom's cousins, aunts, uncles, inbreds, brothers, aunts, uncles, sister has a Facebook account and can get access to social media. It's become really hard for artists to kind of separate themselves, get noticed, and get a proper following or get their news out there in a way that's actually cared about or separated from just the humdrum of everything else. I mean, there used to be MySpace, and then MySpace got spammed all to hell, and then nobody wanted to go on MySpace because all your favorite rappers, fans of rappers who were rappers started sending you show invites and whatnot. In today's, kind of more matured social media world, it makes me wonder, what are the ways that you think about standing out as far as advertising? I have a few thoughts on it, but I wanted to go to Bryce on this first, because I know that he does a lot of SoundCloud stuff and has quite a few followers on there. What do you think about the ideas of outside of social media trying to get a fan base or is social media really the primary source that you want to go after?
I think social media is real big right now. I think it's just the approach that you use. I think people just want genuine. They want to connect with people. So it's a lot of work to interact with people. You know what I mean? And so that. I mean, you have a YouTube channel, so when someone leaves a comment, you interact with that person, and that builds a little bit of a bond there. And I think it's those little bonds over a wide group of people that actually give you what you call, your quote unquote fan base. And I think it's just those personal connections that you build up. And from there, it kind of brings elevation, if you will. So, I mean, I'm not a pro at it, but I just feel like a lot of social interaction and just small connections with people really help and go a long way.
Now, do you do any kind of local shows at all, or do you just primarily stick to the production behind the boards?
Yeah, I'm just a producer, man. I don't do anything. I don't do anything live. I just connect with other artists. Like I have a couple people that, we've done a couple projects and things like that, and they spread it on their end, sometimes more than I do, and then on my end, sometimes I'm spreading stuff for them more than they do. So it kind of goes both ways, but it's basically all through the internet and yeah, through social. Yep.
Now, Aaron, so you have your most recent album, and I know that it's been getting some play through internet radio and satellite radio or whatever. I'm not familiar with the electro bass scene, but how are you going about kind of getting the word out as far as that's concerned?
I mean, the electro scene, I mean, it's still, well, the subgenre that I'm mostly in, I mean, it is kind of more throwback to that early 80s sound, the Soul Sonic Force, Planet Rock, a lot of that genre, a lot of the early One Atkins before Detroit techno became its own thing. But a lot of it really, like I say, it really started with one guy pushing we're out there now. This was about, I want us to say, about 10 years in the making. I just happened to catch on toward the tail end of it. The biggest thing, like Bryce said, I do a lot of production. I don't do a lot of shows, and we've been trying to figure out how to really branch out beyond where we are. And the biggest thing is that we're learning is like I said, by the time most people caught on to MySpace, Facebook is where it's at now. But then you have different. I would say Facebook and a lot of the social medias now, it's dead. The biggest thing now, like even the majors know, is about branding. And like I say, you really got to you really want to make money. You got to have a face. You got to have a product. You got to have a brand, and it's about shows. Depending on where you are. I mean, if you're starting to sit at home and just do beats, I do tracks. You really got to actually get out there. Like me, I have songs over in Brazil. I have songs over that's doing well in Germany. I have songs over that's doing well in Japan. But it's because when they came through, some of the DJs would come through that WMC, the Winter Music Conference down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They would hear some songs, and I would just, hey, take these songs and play them. Then there was just the fact that when I'm in different groups, I stopped spamming my songs so much of just saying, hey, you know what, let me just talk to people about what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in groups, everyone, I've been doing it for 25 or more years, so I see someone might be making them a bad mistake, I'll just offer, and pretty soon it's kind of like, well, hey, you do music? Let me check it out. Sure, go check out my site. And pretty soon, I hate to call people fans, but I've got someone that kind of follows me and may buy a song or buy a couple songs. I mean, while I'm sitting here right now on this chat, I'm actually in a Japanese group chatting with a guy, but I'm Googling. I go to Google Translate, and I put what I want to say in English and translate it to Japan. So it's actually personal.
Sure.
I mean, there's really so much that really has to be done. Like that blimp was really good, but it's only good because you know who Aphex Twins is.
Sure, absolutely. And with that, I want to say, so I'm aware of a few different movements right now, and I think that movements, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. I think that movements are a great way of building a fan base and a scene as well. I see things like right now in I don't want to use the term underground, but I just want to use the term maybe alternative. There is a large scene towards cassette tapes right now.
Oh yeah.
I've got a couple of friends who own cassette labels, and they're totally different genres too. I mean, I've got one friend who owns a cassette label that's, you know, raw hip hop, and then I have another friend who has a cassette label that is modular synth weird noise music. You know? So it's like it's not defined by just one genre or even just one geographical area. I'm seeing that cassettes are kind of coming back, and I think the reason they're coming back in a way is because it's a physical medium that is easy to put in your pocket or easy to carry around with you. Which I'm a huge vinyl lover, and I've never stopped loving vinyl. But vinyl's biggest vice is that it's completely obtuse. It's not easy to carry with you. It's not, you know, you have to be careful with it. You can't just put it in any environment. You know, if you leave it in a place that's too damp, you'll get mold and warps and this and that. Whereas cassette tapes, you know, at least people in my generation, we grew up taking cassette tapes and they were thrown in the back of your car and you played them until they popped, you know, and you just had them all over the place. And now there seems to be a resurgence in this cassette tape area where people are starting to toss out these little cassette tapes with paper wrap around them, and it's a way to get music in people's hand and have them say, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to take a second to, you know, discover what this is because it's been given to me on such an odd medium. Whereas I can remember going to beat battles back in, I want to say maybe 2002 to 2006, between that realm, and I was giving out SD cards and USB drives. And at the time, you know, not many people were doing that, but I was giving out these USB drives saying, hey, listen to it on this format. And so the medium itself was a way of advertising, was a way of separating. You know what I mean?
Like if I can share my screen real quick. This is a hip hop, a really underground hip hop record label. They do a lot of abstract stuff, and their whole thing is cassette tapes. It's like every artist releases on cassette, you know, and you get, like, they have a lighter, but the main thing is the cassette. And I think it's like you said, you know, when it comes to cassette, that physical medium, having that piece of that, you know, that
tangible item.
Yeah, that tangible item, exactly. And then not to mention, a lot of people like they like the sound of the cassette. I mean, that's a lot of the draw for a lot of people, just the way it sounds and the way it records to cassette. They like that too. You know, it takes some of that digital aspect of it off of
that upper edge off.
There you go. Yeah. So, you know, just to kind of, yeah.
And I have to say, like, so my buddy, one of my buddies' label is strictly cassette, and they've done stuff with like Kev Brown and a few others. When you get those tapes, the other cool thing about it is you get the gate folding. You know, you can go through, you can see who produced what. You know, you can read who's dedicated to who. Like, that's still, I mean, there's been attempts by Apple and others to kind of reintroduce that aspect, But scrolling through it, even if it's well produced, even if it's well produced on the liner notes of an Apple product or you know, on an iPad or whatever, it's not the same. It's just simply not the same as holding it in your hand.
Yeah.
And I think that it also shows that you're dedicating monetary input to your own music. Like when people can physically hold your product, there's an investment that's made that kind of proves that you're actually, you know, hard at work on something. Like
Right.
this isn't throwaway. This is not trash. And if you throw away my hard work, you know what I mean? Like it's actually an affront on me, you know. Whereas if you just don't open a file, well, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it goes back to branding, because now that label will be known for cassettes. You know, it kind of goes hand in hand. Like you can't market if you don't have a brand, and that's I see a lot of great guys come. Like this weekend, I was, you know, since everyone know I just moved back to Florida, and I just sat with a guy I had really great producer guy. I mean, I heard some of his stuff, was blown away, you know, and shout out to the guys that use for, you know, FL Studio again. It was just an amazing stuff. But he was all over the place, you know. I go to my SoundClick link and go to here, and you spread over where, and I'm like, well, tell me about your brand. What's going to separate you for the millions of other trap artists out there? You know. And he was like, I'm going to give you this. And I'm like, you know, but who are you? Especially in this day and age where the producer's kind of like the guy now. So you got to really, you know, having a great, like I say, even though that balloon was a great thing, we saw it, that's because we knew who the Aphex Twins were.
Sure.
So if people don't know who you are, you got to really market the brand before you market the product. You really got to market the brand before you have the product in mind. And again, like you said, we pushed the whole Miami bass thing. We pushed it and brought it back to the forefront by reaching back to people like Afro-Rican. Afro-Rican was sampled by Will I Am with the Fergalicious song. That's it's basically took the 12-inch and just rapped over it. I mean, and this guy got a Grammy for it. So we reached out and got these guys. And then French Montana, when he sampled Luke Skywalker with the Pop That Pussy. That's basically a Luke Skywalker. So basically, we start showing the younger generation how, you know, what the brand is. Then we started marketing our music. We didn't even push our music for almost three years into like really trying to say.
You were looking at long-term strategies.
Oh yeah, you know, we you know, like I said, when we first started, before we even said we're gonna put out music, we sat and said, what is the brand? When people see Miami-based history, what will we be known for? And our chat groups were very, I mean, we banned probably harder than Kev in our group. You know, it's a brand. So when you come in,
let me ask Mike what his thoughts on branding is, because I know that he deals with not just audio stuff, but as well as visual. So let me ask him about that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not, Aaron. I'm not saying you're wrong with this. This is one way you can bring out your product and say, let's build the brand first. But actually, if you have a great product, you don't have to be a big brand up front. If your product is really good and it's outstanding and extraordinary, people will notice it, and they will. It's like mouth to mouth. They talk to each other, and this is how you can get attention. But if you, like you said, if you're just one in a million, if you're using, let's keep it with the music. If you're using the same presets, the same drums, and the same arrangements in your beats, then like 500 other guys exactly the same, who should notice you? You know, I really have
so you're a believer in the best really rising to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I think that actually these days there are two ways how you can make a product really successfully. First is you have a great product and people
Yeah.
notice like just liking it. Like for example, I never saw an advertisement from Willie, but I know his company because everybody was talking about if you said I'm looking for machine expansions, where should I go to? And everybody was like, check out the Machine Warehouse. He has great expansions, and I never saw an advertisement from him. And
Yeah.
I don't know Willie at all. But this is one way. The second way is you have to put a large amount of money into that product. And this is what the music industry does with bands, and also with what the movie industry does, because you have like maybe totally average movies, but if you put enough money in the advertisement, it will become a success. But that doesn't necessarily means that it's a good movie or it's a good
Right.
band.
Yeah.
I want to be careful on that. I want to be careful on that for a couple of things. Okay, I'll say that I thoroughly agree on the money aspect to a point. However, the money aspect that you're talking about, if you're just going to go money route, let's maybe ignore the music quality to a point, and just say the money aspect. If you are dealing in extremely large numbers, that will work. But as I know personally, and from friends of mine that I'm very good friends of, that put in the tens of thousands of dollars into advertising money, that does not always guarantee the same kind of buzz. So even if you were, and you have to be very specific. Let's say you have a budget of a certain X amount of money. You have to decide, okay, well, where does this money go to? Is it going towards commercial FM radio? Is it going towards, because let's be honest, it may be whatever it is, but I know plenty of radio DJs that are on major stations, both terrestrial and satellite combined, and internet, and payola is real. Like, whether you like it or not, payola is absolutely real. And it comes down from the top. DJs are told what to play. They might get certain lunchtime slots where they're allowed to play whatever they want to play. But for the most, they're told what to play. They have a set amount of songs that they need to play. Whether they've been, growing up, hey, respect the DJ and play what you want to play. A lot of these guys are forced to play whatever crap is paid for, and there's a lot of money involved in that. So when I see guys that put out like maybe say 15 grand on an album, and they say, okay, well, this 15 grand obviously isn't enough to get it a #1 hit on major radio, so they take it and they send it to college radio, or maybe these subgenre play avenues. Even then, it's not always guaranteed. You have to still kind of have a way to stand out. I'd also say to Willie, when I see his products, I think consistency is also key. He puts out a crap load of products. He works hard. He's constantly putting out products, and consistency gets you a certain amount of advertisement as well.
Definitely. Yep.
Willie and I have both. I may possibly have been doing machine expansions slightly longer than Will, but I've put out probably a quarter of the amount that he has.
Yeah.
And because of that, I would definitely argue that Willie has a much stronger following and is seen far more often, as he should be, because he's putting out so much content so consistently that to ignore him would be to not be paying attention to the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a combination of marketing for yourself, making connections with people. Really, we're doing everything that a side, if we had people working for us, we really have to do all that. So, there's a I hate to say it, but there's a small amount of spam maybe involved, if you want to call it that, if you are marketing, if you will. There's a you have to connect with.
Because there's blowback to that too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't want to spam people, but you know what I'm saying. You have to really push yourself. You have to push your product. You have
Right,
to
and
get
that's
yourself
what
out there.
and that's what I
You
think
know.
Mike was talking about with the money too. Like I was trying to get here, but I'm making good points. Hannah Montana, I think, is a perfect example of that, where even if you put money forth, that still doesn't matter. Like Miley does well because she's talented at what she does. Love or hate her music, you can't say it's not polished. As
Mhm.
opposed to another one of these run of the mill here today gone tomorrow artists. Yeah, they might have one hot record or they might have something that's not they catchy for like a couple weeks, but
Trinidad
they don't
Dream.
last. They don't last, and at some point you still have to have skill.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
So
I think that girl Iggy is a great example of what I was trying to talk about. I mean, she went through like the very traditional route, and it's a lot of payola involved. And I mean, you can love or hate her music. I'm not going to get into whether or not I think she's terrible. Um, but what I'll say is that you know you see these artists that go through that path, and if you don't have that available, you have to find interesting, surprising even ways of getting this kind of exposure. And let's say you're not Aphex Twin, but you fly a blimp over somebody's stadium during a game, it's gonna get a lot of people to see it, and they're gonna be wondering, well, what the heck was that? Or there's not even just a blimp, but just other ways of doing things that are maybe not traditional ways of marketing music.
standing out. It's kind of like the Eminem factor. Eminem, incredible rapper, like just technical rap skills out the yin yang. But at the time, it was insane to see this white guy rapping, and not only see this white guy rapping, but being good at it. And I think that's part of it too. Is like, how do you stand out?
And let me clarify. I don't mean spam. That was the wrong term. I think tactfully getting yourself out there is what I mean.
Sure.
Spam's a bad thing. I don't support spam.
I
But
want to
yeah.
I want to toss to Willie for a second, as well. And let me also just say that I think people in social media are getting much more keen to spam nowadays,
Yeah.
because of the way that spam, like I might be wrong, but I personally believe that spam is what killed MySpace, right? Which nobody's mourning MySpace in any way, shape, or form. But what I'm saying is that the reason why it died was because of that exact aspect. And when I see a lot of Facebook groups these days that are based around music, if you
Yeah.
a random
Yeah.
Facebook group that is based around music, either producers, listeners, lovers, fans, whatever, there's just a whole bunch of people who could care less about etiquette, who could
Totally.
care less about other people's, experience in the world,
Mm.
Yeah.
and just put their crap in your face nonstop. No matter how much they know that you don't care about them, they put
Right.
it up. Like, I don't care about 100,000 people sending me music every day. If
Right.
you do something really unique and interesting, then maybe, yeah, I'll listen to it. But if you're just one of a million people who sends me something, why? Like, my time is valuable. Why am I wasting time on that? So I wanna toss off to William and say, as a marketer of a product, what are you feeling about, like, your best ways of handling a situation without stepping on toes, without making people feel like you're whoring yourself?
Letting other people do it for you. I understand. It sounds strange, but you have to be willing to actually put yourself out there. Be willing to hook up with people who are newer and just starting out, and always be willing to take a chance. And being turned down is not a bad thing. Just keep on pushing and keep on, like Sounds and Gear. I've submitted all of my expansions, but if you notice, only a few of them actually get reviews. So you have to be willing to understand that everybody might not like everything that you do.
Mm.
But
Let me touch in on that too, as somebody who does a lot of reviews, because you've sent me a lot of them too.
yeah,
And sometimes it's just you get so many of them that it gets lost in the shuffle. Like I I actually had to tell people because I was getting like a lot of people sending me their personal drum kits, and I was like, man, I can't do this anymore with random Joe Schmo producer because I'm getting 15 of these a day.
Wow.
Well, I'll also say this, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but at the same time, that goes back to review sources that you can trust that we talked about last week,
Right.
which a lot of people, in this group today weren't here for last week, but last week we had a
Yeah, I was
serious discussion
sick.
about payola in reviews and what reviews you can actually trust. And, I know for a fact that William has known St. Joe of soundsandgear.com for a long time, so have I. A lot of us, the music production community and music gear community is a fairly small community, but it just because it's a small community does not mean that every little thing that you want to push out there is going to be pushed out there, because it is, even though it's a small community, it's still very much a swamped market. And it gets back to like William was saying, if you put out quality products and you aren't afraid to put yourself out there, you let these people help you. Let fans, really, in my opinion, allowing fans to help you advertise your own products is huge these days. Allowing people, making sure that people comment on YouTube videos, share YouTube videos, share any kind of information that you have, whereas it used to be much harder to get an opinion from a respected producer that you might know or know through someone else. These days, you can get those people to share opinions all over the place,
And there's another thing. Be willing to take that criticism. If somebody tells you that something is wrong with your product and you want your product to be good, be willing to listen. Please believe me, when I first started St. Joe, he tore me apart. Like, literally, my first expansion, I had to submit 2 or 3 times, and he was like, no. So y'all would have never seen Boss of the Trap if you would have actually... I wouldn't be...
that.
I wouldn't, right. I would not have been doing what I'm doing now if I would have said, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm going to put it out anyway. I'd have probably put out a garbage product, and it would have killed my business before it started.
Wow.
So
Exactly. And I've had this conversation with... Go ahead.
You have to be willing to listen to somebody's criticism. Just because they're criticizing what you're doing doesn't mean that they think that it's horrible. Some people are actually telling you that you can improve because...
You can.
Exactly.
I think one of the worst terms. I think one of the worst terms that's come out has been when people overemphasize the term hater, and it's people trying to explain to you, no,
totally.
you screwed something up, you can do better. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a hater. That's an anticipator. That's somebody who knows what you can do and is trying to help you get there.
Wow.
Exactly. And I've had these conversations with, say, Joe, too. We both kind of said the same thing. We're going to do reviews generally on things we like. I get a lot of things I don't like, and rather than doing a video on it, I just go to the person and say, hey, this, and this needs to be worked on. Like, this isn't good. And I've done that from everybody. Like, I'm the first to say I'm an IK fanboy. They've sent me stuff I don't like. And I come out and say, hey, I don't like this. This. And leave it at that. Don't make a video on it, because if you make a, like, horribly negative video, you get bashed for it, or you get accused of bashing them. When chances are you're really just being honest. And people on the internet, they don't take when you're being negative, they don't take it seriously, or as honest feedback, or they want to tell you don't know what you're talking about. Perfect example. I'm still getting arguments from people about a video I did about rack extensions a year ago. I don't like the direction they're taking it into, and I'm still catching crap for it. A video that I did a year ago.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I remember that.
Now, I wanna kind of start to close out the show, but I did want to say a couple of things. One thing that I wanted to say is that I've been seeing in Facebook groups and just communities of people helping each other, like the Producers Hangout Facebook group, like Machine Movement, What are some of the other ones? Muff Wigglers and the Synthesizer Freaks, whatever. I've been seeing a lot of people that are really able to help each other out. There's a lot of people willing to dive in and help each other. And I think that when I see people get thin-skinned about, trying to, ask a question and maybe don't get the answer that they like, they get very thin-skinned about it. I think that really goes to hurt their overall being, because it's not like years ago where you could be this unknown artist with a a hoodie over your head. You were the unknown guy and you came in with all this mystery. These days, everybody is your neighbor. Everybody knows you, whether you like it or not. And if you have a problem with someone today trying to help you get to that next level, a year or two from now, you might come out with something and people might remember that.
Right.
People might remember you were that guy with such an attitude problem.
Yep.
You were that guy that helped me so much, So I really think that people need to be aware of how they act in the online community these days, because that will very much affect them in the future. It's no longer anonymous. I mean, as much you can change your name 100 times on a forum, and people will still know you're that same guy who was acting that way. I've seen it happen 100 times. There's people that I would love to mention, but I'm not that guy. But I've seen it happen 100 times, and I just want to tell people, if you're a member of a community and you're trying to learn, or you're trying to promote, or you're trying to just be in the midst of what's going on, stay positive. It's all about being positive, because music is not about, even if you're into dark music, it's not about being negative. It's about being positive with one another,
And you're totally right that you remember those guys. I had a guy on YouTube, I did a beat making video, and in the beginning I explained a little bit what was my setup and stuff, and he posted something under the video that was like, man, shut the fuck up and make the goddamn beat already. I don't want to listen to your talking. And the same dude came back at me like 8 weeks later, and he sent me private message, and he was like, dude, I think my machine is broke. Can you help me out? And I was like, no, man, you don't want to listen to my talk, you don't need my help.
Yeah, and that's
exactly
short term. I can tell you personally that I've seen instances where guys, were negative or just had a certain attitude about them for a while, and then literally 4, 5, 6 years later, it came back to bite them in the butt. So I try to impress upon people that, gone are the days of complete anonymity. You will be surprised at how many people will remember you, how many people are in forums and on Facebook and in these different groups that are people that you might absolutely respect and love, that never say a word, or maybe keep a completely discreet profile, that are looking at you and are judging you by the way that you act, and come 5 years later, you might not know it, but some dude from XYZ label has known about you for years and your shitty ass attitude. So you might want to correct yourself on that. You might want to think about the way that you project yourself to others. And also, in the same regard, I shouldn't be so negative about it. I should also say, in the same regard, being so helpful, being so willing to understand, like William said, being so willing to take criticism and use it to your benefit, that really shows. I mean, that really comes, like when I see somebody who is willing to take advice, even if I know it's gotta hurt, take that advice and use it to their benefit, that to me says so much more about somebody's character than someone who, is pompous about it and says, you know what, I'm just the best. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. You could be in the game 20 years. I don't care. You could be in the game 5 minutes. Give somebody good advice and they could crap on you. You're an idiot. Like, good advice is good advice.
Yeah.
Do it all. So, with that, I want to close out the show on a positive note. Everybody be happy. Um,
Kumbaya.
and let me pass it off to Aaron. Let Aaron. I'm gonna let Aaron say his farewells.
Uh, oh, yeah. On that positive note, I mean, wow. I feel like I should go to church, donate to a charity.
Help an old lady across the street.
Oh, wow. No,
Who
really.
is watching you?
Like you said, man. I mean, going back to what William said and how you just ended. I mean, you know, people sell your product. I mean, that's really it. Word of mouth. I used to work at Cheesecake Factory as a kitchen manager. And that's one company you never see an advertisement on the radio, on TV, no billboards. But as soon as you mention the Cheesecake Factory, people go, wow, they got great product. They got great food. They're known for great food. They don't advertise. Their budget for marketing is their product. I mean, they constantly talk about this. So you got a great product. So that does go back to, what Mike said. You got a great product, and being consistent in that product. Yeah, people will definitely talk. Before I knew who William was, I had definitely seen the machine warehouse expansions out there. So you put a great product out there, and again, you're in the groups. Going back to what you said, get in the forums, in the groups. And
contribute.
People ain't got to come in the group and all of a sudden say, yo, check my music out. Because if you're helpful, you're a nice person, you're in a group where there are musicians. People will ask to hear your music. You don't have to say, yo, check my song out. People will actually say, yo, man, I appreciate that idea what you just gave me. I appreciate that link you gave me. Do you do music? Let me hear something of your music. And if your music is good and your product is good, again, I hate the word fan at this stage and age because I really hate the word fan. You just find somebody that follows your music, and pretty soon they're saying, hey, your music is great. Just so many different avenues that you can travel. I mean, I think we all hit really good points on that. So I'm going to try to just be positive and pass it along.
All right, let's pass it off to Bryce for his closing comments.
Yo, just want to say thanks for having me on the show. It was a great show. Great topics. I think we covered a lot of ground, and there's some great nuggets of truth in there. And until next time, everybody, peace out.
One last question, Bryce. When is your next volleyball match?
It's this afternoon, man. Yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm ready to go.
Right. Before you go, please show everybody that new toy. Show everybody why I have this out.
You didn't even get to that.
I know. Show everybody that new toy you got.
Look at that Pro 2.
The Pro 2.
We can't see it because you guys keep talking.
Shut up, Ken.
Oh.
Right, make a noise.
Yo, there it is. The Pro 2. Live and direct, the Pro 2, everybody. There it is. With those nice walnut sides. Ooh. Pro 2.
Very nice, very nice. And I will say that hopefully sometime middle of the week, Bryce will be nice enough to do like maybe a middle of the week episode or something like that with us. And we can maybe talk a little bit about the Pro 2 and his opinion of it and things that he's been discovering on it.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I'm up for that.
Also talk to Pef because I'd love to see him on here as well.
Bryce,
let me.
I want to do some time with that Pro 2.
Kev's crazy, man. Yeah, man, we'll have to see if we can do that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so Kev West, let me hear your final words, and then we can never hear you talk again. I mean,
you know I don't shut up. I talk slightly less than Bryce.
Where would we be without your IK multimedia love?
Yes. Oh, my IK. Hold on. Oh, my IK.
We knew we would
No, actually, I'm still loving Sample Tank 3. Still love that Eric Keys Pro. I'm glad to be here. Glad we had a great show. Ready to see what they do with Reason 8. I hope they give us more than what they showed us, because right now I'm disappointed. So, Willie, what do you guys say?
Great show. Had a lot of fun discussing some good things, and maybe I'll make it on the next show. Maybe it'll be some stuff about synthesizers. You know, that's all I like to discuss.
That's what I'm
Nice.
saying.
I
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know how you would ever fit into that kind of conversation.
I don't need that.
Oh yeah, me neither, man. Yeah, you need to get some
I
sense
don't even
first.
know what a hardware synth is.
Yeah, you got to get some sense first. Then you can talk.
All right.
You know what? Let's all be realistic. Let's all be realistic. Willie obviously doesn't know synthesizers, bro. He doesn't have a modular.
No, that's true.
But wait, I got the case. What was it? About a week ago, and
you get a case.
I got modules on the way. So
Oh snap!
Nice.
Filthy casual.
I will be a modular owner pretty soon. So
All right, let me pass it off to Mike and let you say your piece.
Yeah, it was a great show. Check out my YouTube channel. By the end of the week, I will have a little giveaway with some special synth pack for you guys. And one more word to the guys from Moog. If you guys don't hurry up shipping out my Sub 37, I will cancel my pre-order and get that Pro too. I tell you guys to hurry up. Peace out.
Absolutely. Yo, let me just say that we talk daily, and I gotta say, man, this guy, Moog, stop hurting him. It's not okay. It's not okay. Like the man,
He's been
He has
waiting.
the patience of a saint.
He's been waiting.
Just because he's in Germany doesn't mean he's like a second-rate citizen. Come on, help him out.
He's more patient than Dr. Dre fans. Come on. We
Dude,
still wait for that.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now let me just say I'm gonna give, because I'm a shill for something as well. So, and because we don't do our what did you get new segment of the show anymore because it got to be too damn long. I will say
Because Ken was talking for 30 minutes at a time.
and that is the new Animodule V9A, which I know it looks like VGA, but it's actually V9A, and the TikTok are two new Eurorack modules that I can't recommend enough. So go check those out. If you have a Eurorack modular and you want some semi-random like craziness, or you need a multiplier divider module, extremely affordable, great prices, and super fun to play with. So I just posted some new videos up on my channel recently, showing me jamming out, getting my funk, my stank on it. I highly recommend, if you like funk and stank, just drip it all over the oozy loveliness of the analog goodness. I highly recommend you check out my most and please come back. Hopefully we can do some sort of episode middle of the week. I have some special guests lined up that I would really like to have on the show that we won't be able to have during the weekend. So we're going to try to get some really interesting people on here that are almost as interesting as the group that we have now. And
They all come to see me again, sorry. They bring their wives.
Kev, listen, try to be more interesting, and then we'll talk to you more, okay?
It's okay, your wife wants to talk to me. It's okay.
Oh.
All right, everybody.
All
This
right,
is
peace
episode
out.
12 of the Producers Hangout. Check us out on Facebook, the Producers Hangout, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, guys. Peace.
Later.